All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Kobe Smith, and I am here with Eric Wilson, who is the Small Business Coordinator at the City of New Haven. Today, we're going to talk about small business support, but also what the City of New Haven and also the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce could do for you all. I'm very excited about this because Eric is a friend, a strategic partner, and someone who is very knowledgeable about resources, small business, and finance. And for small businesses out there who are looking for additional help in those areas, he is a great resource to tap into. So I'm going to hand over the floor to Eric, and he's going to talk about what the city of New Haven offers for small businesses and entrepreneurs. And then we're going to do a part 2 video discussing the DNA of an entrepreneur program. So thank you all.
Thanks for having me, Kobe. It's great to be here at the Chamber. You guys have been such an excellent partner of ours for many, many years. And just to be frank, we at the City of New Haven, specifically in the Office of Economic Development, our goal is to provide technical assistance to entrepreneurs. Full stop. I mean, we want to make sure that New Haven businesses thrive and have access to all the resources that they need. So my role as a small business counselor working with the Small Business Resource Center is to really provide consultative services, steer them, guide them through the process of not only starting a business, but obtaining capital, obtaining, additional resources, whether it be staffing, back office support, legal, accounting services, and really making sure that those businesses grow and thrive. We have longstanding relationships with some of the older businesses in New Haven. We try to work with them as often as we can to make sure that they have the resources that they need.
Awesome. Awesome. So if someone is looking to start a business in the city of New Haven, what are some of the characteristics or traits of that person in the business are you looking for to weed them out?
We're looking for people that are self-starters. One pain point is working with the city is you have a lot of people that have an idea, they want to go into business for themselves, but they haven't really thought strategically about how to bring that dream into reality. So we really want people that are self-starters, people that are curious. We don't put any restrictions as it relates to credit score or previous experience in an industry. We just want people that are enthusiastic, going to take the work very seriously and actually build a business that is long lasting and ultimately employs members of the community.
Okay, perfect. Now, also, do you work with people who are just in the ideation phase and startup phase, or do you also work with like well-established companies that might be looking for, let's say, long-term funding, lines of credit, things of that nature?
Absolutely. And that's a great question. I mean, it's a spectrum. So we work with anybody and everybody. We work with startups, people with, businesses in ideation or in the pre-venture stage. A lot of them are students or recent graduates. And then we also work with clients that have been in business for 10 years with healthy revenue streams that are looking to really expand their business and bring it into a more mature state.
Okay, good, good. So I guess my next question would be what, that really got me thinking, but I think what is, in your experience, what is the one thing that is holding a lot of these small business owners back from being successful?
That's a great question. I think it's attention to detail on the administrative side.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't understand how administratively intensive running a business is. And so they run into all these roadblocks because they didn't file their annual report with the state,
Mhm.
or they don't have their financial infrastructure in order. They don't have their accounting infrastructure in order. They haven't filed the necessary permits or applications with city and state entities to actually be a functional and legitimate business. So I would say administratively, there are certainly some challenges. The next challenge is financing.
Mhm.
Access to capital is probably the number one pain point for small business owners in the community. A lot of the times they don't have wealthy friends or family that can provide them the financing that they need to get the business off the ground. So they're constantly going to community banks for that support. The issue is the community banks only want to lend to people with experience, people with a documented track record in business and in the industry. They don't want to roll the dice on, let's say, a $50,000 loan to a startup if they don't know the individual, if the individual doesn't have an established account history with them. So that's probably one of the biggest gaps that I come across on a day-to-day basis. And then lastly, I would say financial literacy. And obviously, I teach finance, so it's really near and dear to my heart. But that's one of the civil rights issues of our time. I think a lot of businesses end up failing because they do not have appropriate education in finance, specifically business finance. It's not something that's taught in school. And the experience has been really eye-opening for me because I realize that there are a number of small business owners and entrepreneurs out there that simply do not possess the financial acumen they need to survive. So,
And that actually steers into my next point as well. So I've experienced a lot of the same problems when I'm working with people. The one thing that really is killing everyone in this space is the lack of financial literacy, understanding their numbers, making sure that they're profitable. Even though they have revenue, they might not be a profitable business.
Exactly.
So let's say I'm a business owner and I'm having all these issues I just mentioned, and I come to you. What is the first thing that you would do to break down what I need to improve upon? And how will you educate me on the financial scale to help me become a more successfully financial business?
absolutely. So first things first, I'm going to want to take a look at either your Schedule Cs, which is your tax return filing. It's the P&L for your business that you file with the IRS. Or if you have accounting software, I'm going to want to take a look at your balance sheet, your cash flow statement, and your P&L.
Mhm.
I'll also want to take a look at your credit report because I need to assess your personal financial health so I can give you accurate recommendations. So I'm going to look at those documents primarily as a first step. I am going to pay strong attention to cost and specifically cost mitigation strategies.
Mhm.
So you mentioned businesses can be generating revenue, but they're not profitable. It's because they're overspending in a lot of areas and they don't understand exactly where to look. So they've got this accounting software in place that's aggregating all the data for them. But if they've never learned how to read and interpret a P&L or cash flow statement or a balance sheet, they're not going to really know what they're looking at.
Mhm.
So my goal is to really educate them on the accounts and really what drives the change in values quarter over quarter and year over year, and explain to them ways they can remove costs out of their business. Because one thing or one observation I've made is small business owners will come to us and they'll complain. They'll say, I'm doing all this work, but I'm breaking even. I'm
Mm.
not thriving. I'm doing all of this work. And at the end of the day, I'm just breaking even. First and foremost, if you've only been in business for a couple of years, that's perfectly normal,
Yeah.
right? That's perfectly normal. There are businesses that take 3 to 5 years to actually turn the corner and become profitable.
Mhm.
So you have to educate them on that reality. And then you have to show and teach them cost discipline.
Mhm.
And cost discipline is something that, again, we're not taught in school unless you major in finance at the university level. You're really not taught in school. And you have to learn how to treat your business completely independent from your own personal financial behavior. A lot of people bring their personal financial behavior into their business.
Mm.
And if you're like me, I mean, there are times where I'm not the most disciplined as it relates to costs.
Exactly.
And I have to kind of take a step back and check myself. But, don't bring those bad habits into your business. Show
Mhm.
them how functional, mature businesses operate and treat spend, treat cost, and also manage their revenue.
Yeah.
Right. First things first, you've got to be willing to pay yourself
Yeah.
and pay your employees. And that's the first step to really becoming a financially healthy business, I would say.
I like that you mentioned that part about being financially disciplined because when you think about these entrepreneurs that are in that space of they're now looking for access to capital, right? You're dealing with someone else's money,
Right.
whether it's a loan or a grant. A lot of the times you have to report on that. And if you
Exactly.
have bad spending habits or bad financial habits with that money, if they see that, hey, instead of putting that towards, I don't know, a renovation to your coffee shop, but instead you went and, I don't know, bought something for your loved one, that would shows that you're not worthy, you're not trustworthy enough
Yeah.
to help out. I mean, to, just to give someone a loan to, give additional finance to. So there's a lot of credibility that comes with that. So the discipline of knowing how to use your money, but also spend it the correct way comes a long way.
Absolutely. And I've spent time working in risk departments for financial services companies. And I always try to educate the client on how risk departments view you as an individual.
Mhm.
And I always start with a question. If I were to walk in off the street and ask you for $10,000, $20,000, $50,000, $100,000, how much due diligence would you actually do before you gave me a check?
Mm.
right? How much due diligence would you really do? What would you be looking at? They're going to look at your own personal financial behavior if you don't have an established business credit history. That's the first thing they're going to look at. They're going to evaluate you, the individual, as a borrower and ask themselves, do we trust this individual to pay us back and pay us on time? And that's why I go back to the credit report. That's one of the first things I ask to see. Because if you've got missed payments, if you've got payments, or if you've got charge-offs on your credit report, if you've got abandoned accounts on your credit report, those are things that banks are going to look at and they're going to say, no, I can't give you this loan. Because if I give you this loan and you default, that means I can't give a loan to another small business that is worthy.
Mhm. That's key. And we talk about credit a lot. So sometimes I come across people that are saying, okay, I want to get this amount of funding, but my credit is off. So what can a small business owner do to improve their credit over time so they can gain more access to capital?
Absolutely. That's a great question. And first and foremost, I would recommend them visiting another support organization in the community, which is the Urban League.
Mhm.
They do great work as it relates to credit repair services. It's free of charge.
Mhm.
We can provide assistance at the city of New Haven as well, but they have proven to be best in class as it relates to providing free credit repair services. But the first thing that I would recommend them do is just be patient, right? Map out a strategy. It's not going to happen overnight. If your score is in the high 500s or the low 600s, I can't guarantee that you're going to be in the mid to high sevens in a month. It's going to take time. It's going to take a considerable amount of time. And you're also going to have to be willing to change your own behavior,
Yeah.
right? Be willing to change your own behavior so banks can view you in a more positive light. So the first thing I'm going to recommend, pay off your back debts if you have them.
Mhm.
Make payments on time. It is one of the most important things you can do. Don't wait. Don't wait an extra week because the credit services, whether it's Experian or Equifax, is going to be monitoring that. And they're going to look at trends. How often do you pay on time? How often are you late?
Mhm.
So I'm going to recommend they pay down their debts and then also be very, very disciplined as it relates to how they're using that card. Retail credit cards, get rid of them.
Mhm.
Get rid of them. They provide absolutely no value. And again, the interest rates are so high that it just doesn't make sense for anybody to be holding those retail credit cards. Also, make sure your utilization is at 30%. One thing that we always teach people is, look, if I'm a bank, if I'm Discover, let's say, or if I'm American Express, if I'm Visa and I'm extending you a line of credit, that's not the amount of money you can actually spend.
Mhm.
It's the amount you're approved for, but it's always recommended keep it at 30% utilization and hold it there.
Wow.
Also, try not to carry balances month to month. I understand life happens and sometimes you have these anomalous expenditures that are really, really difficult to account for. For example, medical bills, that's a very popular one on people's credit report. But, just make sure at all times you are paying down the balance every single month. Treat it like a charge card because every single month when the financial services institution reports to the credit bureaus, you want to show them that you're carrying a zero balance. Yes, I incur charges during this period, but I'm not carrying it over month to month because the interest will really cripple you.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand. You want to make sure you're using cash for the appropriate purchases and then you're using credit for the appropriate purposes, right? Don't rack up a ton of credit card debt buying things like seltzer water,
Mhm.
right? Food, shoes. Try not to use your credit card for that. Try to use cash for those transactions because they're small enough where you should be able to actually make the payment
Yeah.
one time.
No, that's good. And I like how you touched upon the interest as well, because when you start missing payments over time, the interest only goes up higher, and then that just hurts your chances of getting approved for like loans and additional funding opportunities. So it's always good to know that the discipline aspect is very important, right? Because the way you treat your personal life goes into your business. So I think the one thing that all small business owners should do, and Eric did a great job pointing this out, is to your business technically is an extension of you, right? So all those good habits that you have, those bad habits that you have, they carry over into your business. So it's important to start small, start paying those debts off slowly, on time, even a week before if you have it on hand. And then once you do that, then you can accelerate. And like they say, it usually takes around 21 days to build better habits. But the more you do it, the more you get better at it, the better you get at it, the more it becomes a habit. So that's the most important thing. Just start small and build gradually.
Absolutely. And just to add to that, Kobe, you know, people are oftentimes afraid of reaching out to the financial institution,
Mhm.
right? Everybody's been there where the credit card company has called them because they missed a payment or late on a payment. As long as you communicate effectively, they're willing to work with you.
Yeah.
They deal with this all the time, day in and day out. Their customer service representatives deal with it constantly. Call them, be proactive, pick up the phone, say, look, this is my financial situation. I need to get on a payment plan so I can pay down some of this back credit card debt. They will be willing to work with you. And I think that's what a lot of people don't do. And that's a mistake a number of people make. Because if you let the debt just sit there and fester, it's going to build and build and build. You have to address the problem. And I think you'll find that 99% of the time, a bank will work with you.
Yeah.
They absolutely will. They'll reduce that monthly payment. They might consider, transferring the debt or restructuring the debt to make it a little bit easier for you to pay off.
I'm glad you mentioned that as well, because I was talking to a banker recently and a few wealth advisors, and they were saying that because of the positions that they have, sometimes they feel that if someone's like, hey, I need to go to a wealth advisor or a banker, they feel intimidated. But that's the biggest misconception. Like, even though their job is to help you manage your money and put it to good use, they also want to help you. So that means if you don't know how to do it, don't be intimidated by them. Because most of them, they do want to help. They generally do want to help. The people that don't, they're just bad, right? They're just bad at what they do. They're not people you want to go to. But the bankers, the people that work with money that we have relationships with, they truly want to help. So it's always important to make sure whatever bank you decide to go to, whether it's a credit union or whoever, make sure that you sit down with them, schedule appointments because they are an asset to you. Their job is to help you grow your company and obtain more funding so you can be more financially literate, but also financially stable so you can successfully grow and scale your companies.
Yeah, thanks, Cobain. I think that's really well said. And one of the big things that we do at the SBRC is we connect people with the right resources, right? You're exactly right. You want to be around people. You want to have people in your circle as an entrepreneur that want to help you and want to see your business thrive. And we've established some relationships with community banks. They are well-established relationships, they're professionals, and we present them with challenges and complexities all the time that they have to assist our clients with. So it's really important that people in the community know that we're at City Hall on the sixth floor. They can come to us at any time. It's free of charge, and we will put you in the room with the right people to get the assistance that you need.
Absolutely. So I guess what advice overall would you give to someone that is looking to start their business, or if they're actively in business and they just need some help? What advice would you give to them?
What advice would I give? That's a great question. I would say do not boil the ocean.
Mhm.
I think a lot of times you get entrepreneurs, whether they're in the pre-venture stage or whether they're mature, you get entrepreneurs that are the chief everything officer. They do every task, big and small, themselves because they don't trust anybody else to do it for them. You have to learn to really delegate
Yeah.
because it's going to really take a lot of, to do items off of your plate. It's going to allow you to de-stress because if you are constantly going, you're eventually going to burn out.
Mhm.
And that's what a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs lose sight of. You have to be willing to delegate. And if you haven't found the appropriate people to delegate responsibilities to, then you made a bad hiring decision and you've got to maybe correct that. But I would always encourage people, don't boil the ocean, keep everything very, very simple, and don't be afraid to delegate responsibilities because it's the only way your business is going to succeed.
Absolutely. No, that's a great point because when you think about entrepreneurs, I think the pandemic actually opened this floodgate of people who want to start businesses because they're out of jobs. People got laid off, people got fired. There wasn't much income coming in, so the mindset of an entrepreneur kind of was just thrown upon them, but not the education aspect. So a lot of people they want to scale their operations, but like you're saying, they're too selfish enough. They don't want to delegate certain things. When you think about successful entrepreneurs and companies that sustain through all these pandemics, all these like major crises throughout the world, they had teams of people behind them. you can't really name a successful company that had one person by themselves and scaled successfully. So you're right, make sure if marketing isn't your thing, make sure you get connected with someone who does marketing, tap into resources throughout the city. They might know someone that I know you all are partnering with University of New Haven and helping hands. So that initiative, the chambers too, we're working on getting companies, people like student interns to help them out with certain projects that they have. Tap into Eric, tap into myself. We know certain people that could help you out. So it's always important to, if you have questions, ask them. If we can't answer them for you, we're going to search and then provide you with the proper answer because there's so much out there. And I think that's the reason why this webinar is so important because we're more connected than we think we are. Sometimes you're just 6 degrees of separation from someone who can help you out drastically. And sometimes all you need is just that one conversation to someone who can open the doors of opportunities for you.
Absolutely. I think that's very well said. And I'm just going to echo that sentiment. We are resources that are at your disposal as an entrepreneur in the community. We are your biggest advocates, probably day in and day out. We want to see your businesses succeed, but you have to be willing to extend a hand or throw us a lifeline because, if we don't know that these problems exist, we can't provide any assistance. So reach out to us, be engaged, be vocal, and we'll get you the resources that you need.
Absolutely. So if someone was to reach out to you, Eric, how can they reach out to you?
Well, my contact information is actually posted on the City of New Haven's website. My email address is ewilson@newhavenct.gov. My telephone number, again, is posted on the city's website. We've got an online assessment form as part of the Small Business Resources webpage. You can go to that page, fill out an assessment form. My colleague, Anna Nieves-Wynn, who's our community outreach coordinator, will get in touch with you. She'll do a discovery call to really assess the issues that you're dealing with or what assistance that you need. And then most likely she's going to refer you to me. And I'm going to take it from there. I just provide one-on-one consultations to small business owners in the area. No issue is too small. We're certainly willing to assist. So reach out to me at any time.
Absolutely. And the most important thing, he said this earlier, is to know that this stuff is free, right? Make sure that you utilize these services. They want to help. I want to help. We shared a few clients already in the past year that I've been here. So if there's something that I can't do, I'll refer you to Eric and vice versa. We're in this together and we want to see entrepreneurs and small business owners succeed in the greater New Haven area. So thank you all for your time. This is Kobe Smith here with Eric Wilson from the City of New Haven for part 1. Part 2 of the video, we're going to talk about the DNA of an entrepreneur program that the City of New Haven has. And I'm very excited to hear about what that process goes into that process of choosing businesses and what entrepreneurs and small business owners can learn from this program. So thank you all for your time, and we'll see you in the next video.
Thank you.
Thank you.